Hey guys, today I'm sorry about the poor recording quality, but I'm using an iTouch because that's the best I have. So I'll do the best I can. Today I'm going to go over what I call the welfare dripper. This is a dripper system I use for my Chameleon, and you can use it for all sorts of reptiles and such. Basically, it's just a really easy, non-mechanical, cheap dripper system you can make. If you don't know why, chameleons will usually only drink moving water, never any standing water or anything like that. So bear with me, and at first I'll cover what you'll need. Tubing, of course. You can use the clear plastic tubing, you know, for like fish tanks and such, and you can use all of that equipment. It just tends to be a little bit more expensive. You can buy it in less bulk, but you know, I'll get into why you're going to need probably supplies to make a couple of these bad boys. One 2-liter bottle. You can go bigger or smaller, obviously. It's not like it's a set recipe. I just prefer the 2-liter. Several adapter pieces here, some little regulators for water flow. I'm going to probably be using 2 for this project. You can use as many as you want depending on the size of the enclosure and how many things are in it. Something to bore a hole with, be it, you know, a lighter or like a nail point starter. Something like this, I'm not even sure what this is for. It's something for, you know, irrigation. This is all irrigation supplies. You can get it like Ace Hardware or Home Depot, somewhere like that. But what I use this for, it has a nice shape. This is actually to attach the tubing with the adapters on it too. And then the T is nice because then you can attach that to the back of your tank rather than having to muck up, you know, with whatever this is. Then one of the most important things is a hot glue gun and lots of glue sticks wherever I put them. I know I have them around here somewhere. You can use JB Weld if you don't like to use hot glue. It's just, this is cheaper and faster, frankly, easier. You can use silicone too, but as I said later, I'll cover why you're probably going to have to make a couple of these rather than just one. So anyways, I'll do this video in several parts and we'll get started. Okay, so step one is we're going to attach the tubing, the initial kind of pipeline, what have you, to the 2-liter bottle. So I didn't cover this in equipment, but sorry, I guess it's kind of self-explanatory, like scissors. I couldn't find my Swiss Army knife for, I don't know why. So just going to snip this. I'm supposed to cut it at an angle, but, you know, whatever. So then what we do is we get one of our handy-dandy little connectors. These are just one of these little 2-pronged. This is just to stick it into the bottle. It's not, doesn't need a regulator or anything like that. There are several different ways you can put this into the bottle. Looks like it's not going to be helpful. Use just a more powerful flame. Like I have what I name Bunsen here. So that put a nice little hole in there. So then what you're going to do is put the adapter in. Like so, it's sticking to the melted plastic. And then you're just going to put a nice little layer of hot glue around that. Doesn't have to look fancy unless you're trying to show off, but whatever. This is where you could also use silicone or something of the equivalent like that, JB Weld. Hot glue just sets the fastest, and for the amount of time it's going to be used, it's not going to hurt anything. So for everything you're hot gluing in this, you want to make sure that it has a really nice thick layer around it, because the problem is that if it doesn't, water will leak out, and this will take hours to finish dripping out. You're just going to want to make sure that the hot glue is all around there. It's going to take a little bit long to dry. Use your handy dandy mouth. I'll go ahead and start that when that's set again. Okay, so I stuck it in the freezer to try and speed things up, but sorry about the poor camera quality, but here it is. So as you can see, the emitter is in. It is placed at an angle. That's just to help water flow. It'll flow regardless because of the water pressure. That just helps speed things up. At this point, you're going to want to make sure it's watertight. So I saved you the step of showing you putting me water in it. But you're just going to want to fill it a little bit with water. Make sure the water comes out of the emitter. And make sure it's watertight. Because remember, this is going to be sitting unattended for, you know, a long time. So, you know, you don't want it spilling water all over your house. A couple things. I used a lighter, which was kind of the really ultra, I mean, you know, I like fire way of doing things. which made a kind of too big hole, but I just sealed it up with the hot glue. Silicone is great, but it takes about 24 hours to set. So just keep that in mind, and your emitter can move in that time. It's just a long process. As for JB Weld, it's just a bit messy. Hot glue just kind of does the job for on a welfare budget, which is what this is supposed to be for, right? Please don't be offended by that. It's just a term. Okay, so now that we have this in, you're going to want to, of course, have cut your tubing here. Just a nice long piece. You're just going to want to stick that onto the end of the emitter carefully, because it might be ginger because of the, your glue or silicone may still be drying, but it's going to take a lot of force to get this tubing on. One thing that can fix that is using like the fish tank tubing, but as I said, that's part of why you want to use this, is so that it's going to be nice and tight on there. Now, just to be ultra safe, as I said, I'm going to put a nice little layer of hot glue right around the connection, just because we want to make sure this is watertight, because you're probably going to be using this in your house. And not to mention, at this point, you're probably not going to have to redo that emitter. And this just adds also an extra little layer of protection for watertight. So I just do that. Call me paranoid, call me what you will. This is part of where the plastic tubing can fail. The hot glue can sometimes melt when you use the hot glue. That's why I don't recommend it. But if you use the silicone or JB Weld, that kind of avoids the problem. I'll stop that when that's set, and we'll go to the next step. Now that we have our tubing all nice and connected and watertight and sealed, you can check it again, but chances are it's going to be tight from the first time anyways. So basically, in case you haven't pictured it until now, how this is going to work is the bottle always has to be above the ends of the tubes, the emitters. So your bottle's going to have to be somewhere above. I'll probably end up making kind of like a wood cabinet of some sort, but basically cut your tubing so it's long enough to come down, or you can always just get an attachment and add more later. It's not a huge problem. So at this point, you're going to need some handy dandy little T connectors. So this all depends on how many emitters you're going to be using. I'm going to be using 2, so I just need 2 of these T joints. You can get these, all of these cheap little PVC parts work with the clear plastic fish tubing. So these guys are just going to fit right in to your piping. And remember, they're kind of tight, but that's a good thing. So they fit right in like that. We'll have something that looks a little bit like that. Sorry, I'll move out of the way so you can see it. And then basically what this is the emitter is going to go on the T part of it, the stem. And then what I'm going to do is attach another little snippet here so that I can attach a second emitter. Remember, the more emitters you have, the faster your water is going to drain. And also the more water you're going to put out. The nice thing about emitters, if you get one that has a little screw, which not only allows you to regulate how fast it's flowing, but it also will allow you to turn one off in case you attach too many, or turn them on if you need some more. But always remember, you're draining a 2-liter bottle worth of water into a tank. So make sure, one, the bottom of your container is watertight and won't spill everywhere. Here, I'll just show you now that I have my thing ready for 2 emitters here. So just make sure you're going to not spill water everywhere. At this point, you're going to have to seal off this end somehow, because that's your end point. So what I like to do is take a little snippet of tubing here and stick it on one of the ends. This isn't required. You can get, official little parts and everything, but who needs that when we have creativity, right? The reason I do this is because you don't want to plug up what's going to go into the emitter. There's a nice little piece of tubing in that. It's going to plug it up with a nice little dab of hot glue. Now, you want to do this a little bit carefully, because if you do it wrong, it will plug up into the emitter. But see, as you can see, I put a little bit of hot glue right into the end to stop it up there. Well, then I'll stop the video for when that dries, and we'll move on to the next part. Alright, are you having fun yet? Alright, so just to recap what we've done so far, we've attached our emitter in, pointing up. We've got our 2 attachments here with the plugged end. So now comes the fun part of kind of putting it together. Now, you're probably sick of hot glue at this point. I know I do. How can you be sick of hot glue, right? But at this point, you get to use something even more fun if you choose. Duct tape. All right. So basically what we're going to do now is we're going to take our fancy T thing. I think that's the official name for it. We're going to put it on this little connector piece here. I'm going to make sure they're facing the right way before I attach anything in stone. Make sure they're pointing the same way. Make sure they're the way I want them. Just so that, you know, it'll be less troublesome in case I have to fix something, right? Then take our little T thing, and then I'm just going to attach it with some handy dandy duct tape. And I already started doing it wrong. Remember, it's always easier to admit fault in the beginning, just redo it, a certain part, rather than having to. And at this point, you may actually want to do this part first if you learn from your mistakes like I haven't yet, because the bottle kind of throws the weight around, makes it kind of awkward for this part. Once you get it started, it's a lot easier. And all this does is it's going to add some stabilization and make it easier to attach later. And so, like I said, it's not, pretty, but it works. It's functional, right? And that's the only thing that matters. No. All right. So just get that nice and attached there. So as you can see, basically what I've done now is I have it so that when I attach it this way, the emitters are going to be pointing towards the top of a cage. And that's what you want at this point. You can use some more duct tape. At this point, I probably will add some hot glue to seal up the ends, make sure everything's watertight. Because remember, it's always easier to just make sure it's done before you put it on the tank and get it all set up, and then something's wrong, and it's really awkward, like when I tried to set up my waterfall tank. So now we're almost done. Don't worry, you don't have to listen to me talk much longer. What we're going to do now is simply take our emitters. I'm using this kind. It's not my favorite, but they were on sale, and this is a welfare guide. So basically make sure the point that's going to drip water out is pointing down. I'm just going to attach that in. These guys usually aren't as stable, so I like to add a little hot glue sealant here. Silicone works, JV Weld, all works. And what this is going to do too is just help secure things and keep them in place. Where did my other one go? There it is. Okay. I like these kinds because the ends are actually adjustable. You can't see, but basically you can spin the little round part that drips water out. So, once you've hot glued it and attached it, you can kind of spin it around some more. The reason I do it specifically with these ones is because it's just not a very tight connection. And I'm going to do it eventually. I just won't waste your time hot gluing all of it. Remember, this isn't going to look very pretty. I mean, you could probably do it ways that would make it a lot prettier, like maybe use flying pig duct tape or something. That is a thing, believe me. I love it. So basically at this point, now it's starting to look like a complete project. Now, one thing, God, this hot glue, I hate these little stringy things. Basically, at this point, what I like to do is I took a little stake down for the lining for wires. And what this can do is, I like this end because I can poke it into the top of a tank to help secure things down. And what I do is I just attach it alongside, helps it keep it a little rigid. If you are like me, though, sometimes you don't want it rigid. You want it to be a little bit loose, and that's okay. If you want it that way, be it what it will. I'm not going to do it for this one because I'm going to experiment. So basically, now you are done. Remember, always check for water tightness before you put it somewhere that could cause damage. Not very pretty. I don't think I'm going to show you what it looks like attached because you can use your imagination. But basically how it works is the water fills up here, it comes down the tube, and goes out the two emitters. And then you can control how fast it's dripping. You can turn one off, turn one on if you want different locations. What this will do is it'll provide for several hours a dripping water source. My Chameleon for a while hated drinking water in front of me, and I was really terrified he wasn't going to drink his water, he was going to dehydrate. So one of these can be great. I think all in all, I mean, you know, the soda I'm not going to include for the bottle because I drank it and I enjoyed it heartily. The rest of the parts, maybe $5, and this will last a couple months. The reason I say a month, I usually only use them for about a month, and the reason is that with all of this, things can start to get mucked up inside of the tubing, bacteria can start to grow in the moist, humid environment. So I just really don't like to take that risk with chameleons, especially because if they taste bacteria, supposedly from what I hear, they'll never drink water again. I don't know if it's true, it could be an old wives' tale, but I don't want to test it. So basically, this is it. You can shorten things, change sizes, obviously. I probably will end up doing that a couple of times. I might build a cabinet, so basically what I like to do is make it so that the bottle comes to a point like this. You can't really see, but in front. And then it always has to be above so that the water pressure will force it down. It actually, if you work it just right, the bottle can be at level because of this, because of where I place the initial tubing, because it's higher than the points would be. But basically the water always needs to flow down. Otherwise it won't work. I won't guarantee exactly how long the water will stay in it. I'll say it'll last most of a day, and definitely, you know, not too shabby. What I can say is that this is great compared to buying a system, because usually the systems are very large, even larger than this. You have to have like a whole motorized system for it. So this doesn't require the motor or anything like that. They're kind of crappy looking, but if you're like me, you just don't care because it cost $5, plus you had a yummy soda with it. I'll stop rambling now. If you have any questions, you can, ask me. I'm on ChameleonForums.com. My username is Mew, M-E-W, Mew. And I can answer your questions at any time. I also will reply to comments on this video. Any other projects you want, you can comment it. I can see what I can do. I'm sure someone else has already done this out there. I'm not trying to claim credit for it. I'm not going to make money off of it, so just, I don't even want to go there. Hope you enjoyed. I hope it helps. Thanks for watching. Alright, so I thought you might just like to see it in action, actually in the tank. Sorry, Merlin, I know I'm waking you up. So here it is. As you can see, it's very fancily placed on top of the enclosure. It's just right there is the only one I'm using right now. Slowly dripping water out. Because of the way I placed the emitter, I didn't end up actually needing to elevate it, but I probably will eventually anyways. As you can see, here's how I fancily attached the T part into it. And then just to give you a little bit of a view into how it's working. Alright, Merlin, that's Merlin. And this is it slowly kind of dripping out. As you can see, it's landing on the plants and the vines, and he'll love that. And it's close enough to the vine where he'll actually go up and just lick it directly as it drops down. If it spreads out across the mesh, that's a good thing because it makes multiple drop points. So yeah, that's how it works. I hope it helps you.